If you are here for VBS, ABCs of VBS, you are in the right place. If you're not in the right place. So, everybody here for VBS? We're here to talk about VBS? Alright, okay. I'm sure by this point of the day, everybody's like, wow, this is already a lot of stuff. Yes. Okay. Before I get going, looks like most everybody is centered on this side. Maybe we'll I guess I'll focus more on this side of the room. Okay, so before I get going with VBS, let me ask you guys, how many of you have never run a VBS before? You've never run a VBS before? Okay. How many of you guys have run a VBS at least once? Okay. How many of you guys have run a VBS for more than 3 years? Okay, so that gives me an idea of the breakdown of what level of experience you guys have with VBSs. Okay. So, alright. I like to always start things with prayer, so let's start with prayer. God,
Lord, we love you.
Thank you, God, for this time together. God, touch our minds, Lord. Help us, God, be focused on VBS right now and how to make a great VBS together, Lord. Lord God, let us, Lord, have a great discussion here. And we have great VBS ideas back to each of our churches. In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus. Yes, in Jesus' name. And I'm going to be expecting you guys to share too. You know, I want to save a good amount of time for us being able to actually, have some good discussion, right? There may be some ideas that you're sharing with each other that is going to be able to be helpful for others in the room. So there's a couple components of VBS that I'm going to go over, okay? One is structurally with VBS, there's a few main areas to delegate out, okay? How many of you guys have ever used the group curriculum? Yeah, you guys use group? What do you guys use? Somebody shout out for me what you guys have used to run your VBSs. If it's your own stuff, if it's like Lifeway, if it's, you know, like, your own stuff. Okay.
We used some kind of curriculum, but it had a lot of kind of Baptist pushes and stuff like that, so we kind of had to twist it up. I think that might be the group. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you guys? Okay. Okay. I saw somebody else raise their hands here that run VBS before. Anybody else? Use anything different? Okay, here's what I would say. We at First Church use the group curriculum a lot. One of these years we're going to try to write up our own stuff for VBS, but what I like about the group curriculum so far is I like the music. The music is really, really fun. And I like the overall structure, right? So I'll share with you what I like about their structure that I think you guys can take and use if you want. What I don't like is typically we don't really use their lessons very often. We use some of their lessons, but it's not apostolic, you know? So we end up, their format, you know, they have like a 5-day format. We'll use about 3+ of it. So what we do is we start on a Wednesday, we go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we do evening VBS because it helps us get more volunteers. When we would try to do things in the daytime to get volunteers, it was nigh impossible, right? Really, really hard. So we do our VBSs at night. We start from like 6 or 6:30 to 8:30/9 o'clock, right? And so that's like kind of the overall structure there of that piece. And Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are very similar. And I'll go through the exact itinerary of the structure to give you guys a feel of how that is as we take kids through the VBS day. Saturday is different because what we do is we'll actually have a kids' church day that day. We start the morning off with a kids' church for all the VBS kids. And then we have them practice because a lot of these VBS curriculums, they make it so you can have a big concert with the kids, right? So all week long, we're teaching them these songs that they're going to practice and sing off the platform and invite their families. I'm telling you, I love VBS because it's such an awesome outreach opportunity. You know, all these kids love VBS. You'll get all kinds of people. You'll get your church kids, you'll get kids from the neighborhood, some kids rarely ever come to Sunday school, but they show up for VBS. I don't know why, for real. And then you'll have people that are like VBS junkies, right? Like they just like look around, their moms are like hunting for VBSs all over town, and they'll come to your VBS just because it's another VBS, you know? It's like, where can I get this much free babysitting? You know, this is amazing, right? It is such a party. We charge $5. That doesn't even cover anything. That barely covers the snacks, to be honest. So it's not a moneymaker. Some people charge like $30, you know? And parents will have to pay for it because do you know how many hours we were watching their kids that week? It's amazing, right? Like, it's like, they're like paying us like, you know, cents per hour. It's like crazy, right? You know, so it's a huge value for parents, but cool, you know? We want them to understand that and see it that way because for us, we're excited because it's a whole week of getting to work with these kids, right? So Saturday is kids' church. After kids' church, we do lunch, and then kids get to practice on the platform in preparation for Sunday concert, right? And then for us, we'll typically do something really big, some type of thing. Like we get like a bunch of water inflatables. We'll just have a giant water plate, you know, like for the afternoon. It's nuts. It just looks like a water park, right? Or we'll get inflatables or anything else like that. Something, we'll make it fun. One year we had like a massive water balloon fight because of travel. You know, so we couldn't really do as much. We lightly use water. You know, they're tiny water balloons. Which was good and bad. It's kind of painful, to be totally honest. You know, like everybody's like, you know, kids like nailing me with water balloons. But, you know, we try to do something fun like that, right? So now, let me just quickly walk you through first what happens for those previous first 3 days, okay? And then we're going to go even further backwards in time. It's like, how do we successfully get to a VBS launch? Okay, so the agenda looks like this. At 6 o'clock, you know, by 5:30, all the team members are typically on campus and getting ready for what they're going to do, all right? I'm going to tell you this from the perspective of kids now. So kids show up at 6 o'clock, and they start to get into crews that they've been assigned in. Every crew typically has 2 crew leaders for every 10 kids, okay? And those kids are actually broken up into just groupings, not by age group. So we have a whole bunch of mixed ages. Maybe that sounds totally crazy to you. It sounded totally crazy to me at first. I'm like, are you sure? But we tried it, and we've been doing it for years now. What's interesting is we actually do leverage having the older kids help the younger kids, right? And it actually works. It neutralizes some things. You know why? Because the time we didn't do that, and there was one poor individual that was stuck with 10 preteen boys, right, and wanted to hurt themselves enough to not show up the next day. I'm talking about the workers, not the kids, right? You know, like, you're like, oh, please, don't put me with those kids together. It was just so intense, right? Whereas you break it up, you know, you got like a 4 or 5 year old. Well, we started at age 5. This year, we're actually looking to do a 3 and 4 year olds little group to the side as an experiment. But we normally start at age 5 and up, right? 5 to 12, mostly 5 to 11. It's 12-year-olds that, if they really want to come, they can. Okay? So they show up, they find their group, the registration team. We go ahead and tell them, you are part of this group, right? And we have groups, like for us, it's groups 1 to 20, or sometimes 1 to 24, depending on how many registration we have, right? You know, so we have capacity to hold up to 240 kids, right? And that's the whole idea, right? You need to feel flexibly, and I can scale, right? Based on that, I need to somehow find more crew leaders if I accommodate, you know, up to 320 kids, whatever number, but it's just a matter of plugging more crew leaders in, right? And getting more supplies. But what we're talking about structure-wise is extremely scalable, right? So what happens is after that, the kids show up, they go to their crews, and they get to meet their crew leaders. They get to talk about what's going on and learn about the day's theme, and then we do the welcome, right? We get up, it might be a skit, it might be something silly, it might just purely be announcing what's going to be happening that day from a very high level, right? Especially if it's their very first day, we welcome them in, and then we start to direct them. This is where it starts to get really interesting, okay? VBS, then we split it up into 4 areas, okay? Where, like, let's say, for example, I'm talking about 20 crews, okay? I'll split up 20 crews into 4 groups of 5 crews, okay? So imagine a column of 5 crews, column of 5 crews, column of 5 crews, and a column of 5 crews, all right? And what happens is I'll say, okay, Group A, you guys go to the Bible Learning Center, right? And they'll go and they'll learn Bible stories that day. Group B, you're heading over to the Snack Shack, and they head over to the snack area. Group C, you head over to the imagination stations. And Group D, you head over to games, right? So, yeah, some of you are like, imagination stations? You talking about Adventures in Odyssey? Right? No, yet, yes. Okay, so I'm queuing up what's happening for the kids, and I'm going to come back and explain all of it. There's a lot to unpack. Now, here's the thing. I would say, just like what Brother Philip was saying, you know what? The important thing is you start. Your VBS, may not start out looking like this, and ours was way more rudimentary. I'm just talking to you about how we do it today so you get ideas. But when we first started out, it was, like we didn't organize remotely as much as we do today. I remember literally, I had flown back from my honeymoon, and I was supposed to teach a lesson, and I was literally given a fistful of pipe cleaners and told, be thou innovative. It's literally, like you got like a room of kids and a fistful of pipe cleaners, right? It was crazy. And now, today, people have months to plan and other stuff like that. But you know what? Kids for years still said that first VBS was one of the most fun VBSs they've ever had, right? Start, it doesn't matter, right? So I'm telling you that to tell you, don't feel intimidated by the stuff I'm telling you, right? Incorporate the stuff over time. I'm going to give you a fire hose of stuff. You don't have to feel like you can't do all that stuff this year, that you shouldn't do it. Please do not ever feel that way, right? I'm just going to give you more than you can probably handle so you can cherry pick what you like, okay? So there's those areas, and we go on a rotation schedule, right? So when 25 minutes is up, we give kids 5 minutes as a group, go to the next section, right? So the Bible team will then go to snack, and the snack team will go to imagination station will go to games, and they go in a circle, right? They just all go in a circle until at the end of the day, after 3 rotations, everybody's gotten to do every single thing, right? And that makes it scalable so that the snack team is never overwhelmed trying to feed 200 kids at one time, right? And, the Bible person is not like, okay, children, with this massive humanity in front of them, right? It's broken down into smaller chunks. Again, it makes it also really, really scalable, right? We can kind of flex as necessary. So now, I'll just finish this.
The person that's taking that crew, are they teaching and feeding in that station? Are they doing whatever that station calls for? And moving with those kids, or are they sending?
Okay, so this is what I want you to imagine, okay? The crew leaders are like tour guides for these kids. They go everywhere with these kids, right? So it's very, very clear. If you 2 ladies were crew leaders in one crew, right? Then all those 10 kids that are with those 2 are always with those 2 at all times. So their focus is not on teaching, it's not on preparing snacks or anything else. there's auxiliary teams that handle all of those things, so that the crew leaders can facilitate the kids being able to participate in those things, right? So think about the crew leaders as tour guides, right? You get to explore with the kids, and they have no other responsibility, right? And vice versa, you know, it's not the responsibility of the snack team to be worried about supervision of the kids, they're worried about snack, right? How can I make sure that all the kids have snacks, right? That's all they're worried about. Now, depending on the size of your VBS operation, ours over time got very large. In that first year, we had, you know, if we had 35 volunteers, I'd be amazed. You know, now today, like we have like sometimes 80 plus people helping at VBS or more, easy, right? You know, like, but that took time. That took time because people just saw VBS after VBS happening, and they're like, I want to get involved, right? And also some of, like I was mentioning in some of the other talks, our young people grew up, you know, and now they're old enough, and they're like, of course I want to be a part of this. I'll be sad if I'm not a part of this. You know, and we just grew our staff that way, right? So some of the things I described, we can do because we have the staff for it. But even if it were me 5 years ago, I couldn't do the stuff I can do today, right? So I want to give you ideas as you expand and flex and have those capabilities open up to you. But you don't really need a very large group for a lot of these things. The Imagination Station started as a craft area, right? Where kids would just all be led to make the same craft. Now, it's a whole bunch of tables with experiment stations where kids are trying out all different types of things. One year we did it as a marketplace where we gave kids 2 coins, right? And they got to go to the booths and, like, you know, these adults were dressed in Bible clothing, and, like, you know, one station was a place for them to make yarn, and we had like all these cotton balls glued onto these toilet paper rolls, and the kids were supposed to shear the sheep, right, and make yarn out of it. It was really cute. I felt bad for the couple that had done it because, like, they're like, oh, you know, like all this hot glue on their fingers and everything, you know, like, they struggled so hard with it. But it was really fun for the kids, you know, like they go and we made them these little cards. They were like little dim sum cards. I don't know if any of you ever had dim sum before, but like you go over there and you're like, I want things on that card, and they stamp the card. So we had the kids have to pick only 2 places to go every single day across 3 days, and there were actually more choices than there were days. Because there were 8 booths, and there were only 6 that they would be able to finally do. And they like struggled. It was like an epic struggle in their minds. Like, you know, I'd see them literally standing in the center of the square, the town square, you know, like looking at their card, and they're like, well, I did that one yesterday. You know, and they like go and then they go, okay, well, I didn't do the you know, color dyeing one, right? And then they go over there and they give their coin, and they're like carefully managing their 2 coins every day, right? It was really cute. And it's fun. We like giving them some type of choice, right? I'm a big fan of the Imagination Station. And I'll give you other examples. In years that we've done more experimentation-based ones, like Power Lab was a theme we used where we all dressed like mad scientists, right? We did 3D bubbles where you use like pipe cleaners. You use pipe cleaners and you basically make a cube out of it, right? And then when you dip it into a bubble solution, it like does a really crazy thing where you see like the bubble kind of invert on itself like a cube. It's really weird, right? You know, so like kids were like experimenting with it. Like, you know, we did the yeast experiment where you can make it kind of like explode, and like, you know, food coloring, and, you know, like all. So there's just all these different tables. So, you know, for the adults, you know, after word started getting around year after year, for them, like, you know, like it's fun for them to get jazzed up. It's like, oh man, I'm totally at the like milk and food coloring table, right? You know, where you got like the milk laid out and you like drop the soap and the food coloring goes, you know, like all cool and everything. And like, you know, like all these kids are wanting to choose these different tables that they can experiment at. It's an opportunity for those 25 minutes for them to get to explore, right? So that's what the Imagination Station is. Now, I wish it were like, you know, Wit's Imagination Station, you know, not quite that intense yet. We're working on it. No, not really, but maybe, you know, at some point. So I have wanted to do that for Kids Church at some point, you know. Yeah, we're not gonna. Okay, so So, you know, like, yes, right? Imagination Station is an area for exploration, but if that sounds too intense, just start with a crafts portion, right? The whole idea is we want to have different experiences for kids because different kids react to experiences in different ways, right? Some kids love games, and some kids actually like clam up with games. Some kids want to be able to spend time doing something quieter, doing crafts. You know, so there's like crafting portions of the Imagination Station to be able to engage kids on that level, right? So we try to have a lot of different experiences. Okay, so Imagination Station is one station. The other station is the Bible Story Station. And that's what you would imagine. You know, we're teaching different lessons that tie in with some type of overall Bible point for the day. A lot of these curriculums will have that stuff written out for you. And for us, we just modify that. You know, we'll take it, if we like it, we'll use it. If we don't, we'll apostolic-arize it, right? Or make our own stuff. And so there's kids that are sitting in on that portion of things. Man, one of the Bible lessons that was so cool was we were talking about the crucifixion, right? And there was this guy that was telling the story about Jesus being crucified, and it was like a dark room and everything, and in the background behind him, behind the curtain, somebody else had a hammer and a plank of wood, and you know, while he was talking, the other person would actually hit the wood with the hammer and you hear sound like, as in like driving in the nails, you know, with those kids, and it was powerful, man. Like, it's like those kids were so touched in their heart, like really realizing it's like, hey, somebody really suffered from me. You know, so it's like, that is such an opportunity to like take it up a level, right? Especially if you give enough time for people to plan and get delegated out amongst multiple people. For me, I want a different Bible teacher every day so that they can put their maximum into that one lesson, right, for the whole week. And, wow, this is amazing how fast time is running by. Okay, so that's the Bible portion. Then the snack area, it's snack. You know, like for us, you can tie it into the overall lesson theme and all that other stuff. For me, I just prefer it just be fun, right? You know, like root beer floats, cheap, easy, high fun value, right? Other things like that, like, you know, like little Jello cubes or whatever, right? I'll tell you something fun that we did, you know, like when it comes to decorations, one thing I'll say about VBS decorations is focus on stuff kids can interact with. That's my recommendation, right? It's easy to focus on, like, you know, will this be Pinterest worthy, right? You know, and just like, oh, it's this beautiful thing, but kids can't touch it. And that won't be fun for them, right? So I'll give you an example of something really fun we did. We did Sky VBS, where it was all about planes and things that flew, you know, like, we sang songs like, I'll fly away, oh glory, right, and all that type of stuff. So we used PVC and cardboard, and we made a plane, something that felt like sitting inside a plane, right? And like we made these like big structures and covered it and painted it so it looked like a plane. There was a door, and to serve our snacks, we had ladies dressed up as stewardesses and serving as kids sat in there, right? It was so funny. It was like a really neat experience. This is the type of opportunity where you think about, even with your snack, right? Is there a fun way to present it? Last year for Cave Quest, we put up a giant tent in the middle of our gymnasium, and the servers brought it into a cave where there was black lights and there was like cave drawings and stuff like that. It was really neat, right? So that was another opportunity where they were having a snack inside a giant cave, right? So we talked about Imagination Station, Bible Station, Snack Station. The final one is the Game Station. It's an opportunity to just play a ton of games with the kids, right? So the idea is each of those areas help, right? You know, the kinesthetic type kids get the wiggles out in the games area, you know, the more introverted kids can find the Imagination Station, etc., right? And then we end the day with everybody coming back together in a giant group to learn the songs, right? So that we'll learn the songs together that they're going to sing on Sunday. And then from there, after that, that's when they go home. And we repeat that for 3 days. We do the Saturday setup that I was telling you about, where it is kids' church, food, then practice the songs, and then a big fun portion for the rest of the day, and then you get to Sunday, and it's a big performance. You know, something that we're looking to do this year is to serve free lunch after VBS, right, after the morning song set, so that we can like get to hang out with the parents, right, instead of everybody vanishing off after. So again, like that's a really good opportunity to capitalize on getting to know the families that just showed up. And I would say, you know, like be sensitive to, you know, there's a lot of things I've seen people do. They may incorporate actually like some type of lesson that the kids are actually helping to teach. That's kind of cool, you know. But sometimes it's just a quick altar call at the end. You know, like I think, here's just my opinion. If you have it where it's like all these sweet kids are singing and everything, and then all of a sudden you have somebody come up and preach, people might feel like, whoa, you know, like it's like that might be more than they expected. But I don't think the way we phrase things oftentimes, sometimes we'll do an altar call, most times we'll do an altar call, sometimes we won't. But when we do an altar call, at the end after the music has been sung, it's surprising, you know, like all these sweet, beautiful children singing about God, right? Like it's like it feels good in that room by that point. And we just say, hey, listen, we want to invite you, if you want to come up with your families, we just pray that God will be with your families, protecting your kids in school, protecting your family at home, and just being with you. You know, come on up. We want to pray with you, and we just want to invite you to do that. If you don't want to, that's okay too. But you would be surprised. I have seen incredible moves of God in the altar with families that were like, okay, I'll take care of that. You know? And then kids just come down, and you see like people we've never seen darken the doors of our church before. It's like, who is that guy? Oh, that's their mom's boyfriend, you know? And he's just crying. You see these beautiful images of these families just crying together, you know? So those are the things that I say would be like the main portions of VBS. And for each of those things, I normally put somebody over that, right? I have a head snack person, head imagination station person, a head Bible lessons person that teaches and delegates, right? And then a head person that's over the games area. And then everything else, you know, we can set up from there. And then somebody who's head over the music. Like my wife oftentimes will do stuff like that, right? But it doesn't have to be her. And those are the main things. You got that stuff? It's great VBS. Now, let's take it up another level just quickly. I don't know how I'm doing on time. We're probably running out already, which is unfortunate. How much time do I have? Does anybody know? Oh, yeah, it's really 3:15. Oh, I've got 10 minutes? Oh, good, okay. Okay, I'm going to start to open up for questions, but I'm going to really try to turn a corner here. So that's how the VBS week should go. But you know what? I feel like, for us, we try to really do a good job with the week of VBS, but there's so many missed opportunities in really promoting VBS. You know, this is an opportunity for your entire church to rally around heavy outreach, really getting out there and letting people know, right, that we've got this VBS, it's a great opportunity, and it's just an excuse to knock doors, right? Really use that and get out there and let your community know about it. And the other thing, you know, next level kung fu on what to do with VBS is to make sure that you plan out a whole bunch of different Sunday school promos after that, for weeks after that, and be able to have people take that home. You know, even give them a little go-home bag. That's like, you know, like all different things about your church, and then schedule for cool things happening in Sunday school weeks after that, right? For the next, say, 2 months. That'd be the recommendation, right, on how, and again, I've learned this stuff over time only because there'd be times where I'm like, I wish we did that. Something else I would say is, if you guys have never asked for donations before, VBS is a good opportunity for that. Like, so much of our food was paid for through donations. Different companies, other places, you know, you name it, from a Safeway or Panera to whoever, right? They will donate. One year we had Chick-fil-A donate a bunch of gift cards. So every kid went home with a Chick-fil-A gift card. It was awesome, right? You know, the Safeways donated, you know, credits for food and other things like that to really help us offset a lot of the expenses on the food side, right? So that's another encouragement to you guys. Really check out those things. The more time you have to do that, the more likely you're going to be able to secure those kind of donations. So I'm going to open up for questions. Questions? Yes?
We live in a pretty depressed area, and a lot of the kids don't have a lot of structure, so we find disciplinary problems in their term. How do you handle that?
Yeah. Okay, so the question is, you know, if you deal with a lot of kids that have a lot of disciplinary issues, how do you deal with that, right? Depending on the type of area you're working with. It's weird. It's like, is there anywhere where there's not? You know, it seems like it doesn't matter what city you're in, right? Let's just be real. Like, you know, like, while other people are running away, we're the ones that are running toward it, right? You know, like, that's just the reality everywhere we are. So that is a reality for all of us. You know, I would say that the crew leader structure has really helped with that, right? Like, because it helps you zero in on making sure that there's localized help across those kids, and you might be able to say, okay, we're going to split these two up. We're going to leave this one kid here and leave him and move another to a different crew and swap kids, right? And you have different strategies of being able to split up certain kids if you have to, right? Great question. Did that help?
Yeah, it did. And what do you do if you have parents that aren't there to pick up their kids?
Oh, boy. Okay, so the question is, what do you do when you have parents that aren't there to pick up their kids right after it's over? You wait. It really stinks, but yeah, I've been there. Right? You know, you're like, hey, you send it at 8:30, 9:15, I'm still here. Cool, right? Have the kid help clean up. You know, right? Like, you know, like, you're here, I'm putting you to work, right? You know, let's do this, right? But that's all you can do. You know, and have a talk with them about it, you know, figure something else out, but that's just the realities we face sometimes, right? Any other questions? This is good. Anything, please. Oh, okay. We'll let him, go ahead.
What if you only have a crew about 4 to 6 people that help out with Sunday?
What if you have a crew of, say, 4 to 6 people? You know, yes, it's different from 8. I recognize that. Right? Like I said, you know, we didn't start at that, right? We worked our way up to that, and sometimes we have even more help than that. You know, like I'm thankful. I'm telling you, if you are just starting on this, you know, the phrase that I regularly like to use is, do not measure your start to my mid, right? I know 5 years from now, I'm going to be like, wow, I can't believe what I was doing 5 years ago, right? And it blows my mind the way I was doing things 5 years ago, now, right? So don't measure your start to my middle. That won't be fair for you, right? But, you know, like breaking all that stuff down, you can make it simple. You may have to have your VBS actually be a giant room of stuff, right? You know, where you're actually having, you know, like still have crew leaders, but then you might have like, you know, 4 crew leaders and 2 really tired people running everything else, you know, or swapping out or doing something like that, as a structure to start. You know, or maybe you have 2 crew leaders. It all depends how many kids you're dealing with. Or you might find that it's funny. I'll have people that help with VBS, they don't help with anything else every year. They'll help with VBS stuff, right? It's amazing. Once you get it going, yeah, for real, right? You know, you start to find people that'll buy and say, oh, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. That's only for, you know, a few days. You know, I'll do that. I'm serious, right? Like, it's like, I don't have a team of 80 in Sunday school every Sunday, right? You know, but I have a third of that, right? Well, no, yeah. Semantics, right? But yes, right? I have a lot more helping out with VBS. So, I would say the stuff is still scalable. It's just, you have to really work it out. But the big thing is, I really feel like crew leaders help. Having crews really, really helps, and that keeps more peace, you know, overall being able to manage the kids. Have you run a VBS yet? Have you guys run one yet?
We ran one last year. It was more of a whole summer type thing. So every Sunday we had the catering as well, which everybody was their own character. We all had different characters. And then we did the last week was the whole weekend.
Yeah. Okay.
It was just like, you know, particular.
Well, you know, I would offer this. If anybody was ever interested in interning at our VBS, you know, like, we're not going to let you just watch. You have to help us. You know, like, but you would definitely trial by fire learning, and we get to plug you into the process so you understand what's happening. We'd like to be a crew leader, you know, hop in right into the process and see exactly how we do things. Get to really see it in action, to be able to take ideas away to real life, right? Right in the heart of the process. So, you know, that'd be something I'd be open to. If you guys ever wanted to check it out. So, any other questions? Any other questions?
Are you going to make your own VBS for the wing?
Oh, what about?
I really like to piggyback off the fruit of your labor here.
You know, we're thinking about 2018. 2018, we might really do that.
Awesome.
So yeah, stay tuned. Yes. You know, I mean, like for us, again, we've done VBS. This is probably year 10 that I've done VBS now by this point. You know, like you learn a lot of things in 10 years, right? Of anything. You know, but with VBS, it's so intense that it's like, seriously, everybody has like VBS hangover, like after, right? Like it's just like, for like a week and a half after. Because it was just so intense, right? Like all the days. But it's just so memory filled, you know? So again, if you haven't done VBS, just start. Just start. You know, just try it out. Check out the curriculums. Like, I highly recommend group. You may have to come up with some of your lesson stuff, but everything else structurally is really, really good at what you're doing. Yes?
I was going to say, you know, with all the stuff you do in Sunday school and VBS and whatever, how do you stay motivated? Don't you ever feel burned out, like, I need a vacation? Like, I want to do something new?
Yes. I have felt burnt out at times. Over time, I've tried to delegate more stuff, you know. And right now, I'm not going to lie, there's a portion of me that's like, oh, I wish I were there at that meeting. There's meetings going on without me right now, right? There's so much stuff that's happening without me right now, you know. Oh man, is Bubble Sunday going to be okay? You know, like all stuff like that. Because I'm not going to be there for Bubble Sunday, right? You know, but yeah, you know, I find, I'm telling you personally, as long as I've done children's ministry, I feel like, you know, I've traveled to a part of the star field only to find there's more stars in the field, right? There's so much that I feel like I have not yet conquered in children's ministry, you know, and even the stuff that I feel like I've done well, I'm comfortable with but haven't mastered. I really believe 5 years from now, you ask me about VBS, there's going to be stuff that I can tell you that I never did before, you know? Maybe there's some point when there's true mastery of VBS, but I don't know, I'm not there yet, right? So what I would say is this, you know, when it comes to motivation and protecting yourself from burnout, that's a really good one.
Remember your why.
Huh?
Remember your why.
Yeah, right?
Why am I doing
Keep going back to why you're doing it.
That's right.
Keep reminding yourself, right? Tell yourself testimonies. Testify to yourself of God's goodness in your ministry. And I regularly tell my team, hey, every month you must write down one testimony of what God did in your class, in your street, in your crew. And if you can't, something's wrong, right? And if you can, you're going to need that memorial later. Because there's going to be a time that you need to go back, right? Like when David got the sword out, you remember, right? It's like, oh yeah, no, God's going to go me before. He's going to bring it back to me again, right? You need those type of things to be able to memorialize for you. So that's one thing I would say, like absolutely. Right? Hold on to your why. But the other thing is take care of yourself. You know, like really do take vacations once in a while, right? Work with people to be able to plan that stuff out. That's important. Take care of yourself. Okay, am I out of time? That's it. All right, thank you everybody.